everyone. Welcome to another episode of KepTalk. I'm so happy to have you. We are finally in December. December 2020. I am so excited to start a new year very soon, and I'm sure you all feel the same way I feel. I don't need to go down the list of the things that we've seen and heard and experienced this year, 2020, but I'm just praying that next year will be a far better year for you and I. So thank you once again. So before we get into today's topic, I just want to bring back what I said last month. I know I brought up the topic of Thanksgiving and being thankful and writing it down, and I actually did that, and I know I had said I would come back and maybe let everyone know what I wrote down. So I want to share something with all of you. One of the things that I wrote down that I was thankful for, especially in the month of November, was KepTalk, right? And then I started thinking to myself, like, okay, yes, you're thankful for KepTalk. You're thankful that you started. You're thankful, that everything, I guess in my opinion has gone pretty well. But God has also put people in your life to help you in this process. So I just wanted to use this time to thank my team, thank them for everything. It's a small team of us, but I'm just so grateful for all of you. I really, really am. Even down to the person that did my the beat, the beat in the beginning. He was a middle schooler when he did that earlier in the year. Now he's in high school, but he was a middle schooler. The people that record me, that you see record all of this, they are young adults. They're young people, and I'm just really, 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 really grateful for them. My sister, my husband, you guys all are truly, truly amazing, and I just wanted to use this time to just say thank you and say that I appreciate you. I'm grateful. I can't wait till we get to a point that I can start buying y'all cars as a way of saying thank you. But you guys know, what it is. So just thank you so much. That's really what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for all of you because, God, yes, He does great things in our lives. He allows things to happen. But He uses people to help us, execute vision. He uses people to help us in the area of encouragement. He uses people even financially, right? God is not pouring down money from the heavens, but He could use somebody to write a check. So just thank you. So on to the topic of today. And today we're going to be talking about insecurities. And I'm also going to say voices, and I will explain how all of this ties together. But insecurities, that's what we're talking about today. And I feel like, I know that nobody can really tell me they don't have insecurities. I think we all have insecurities. We all have things that we're dealing with internally. And it could stem from a lot of different things. So I just wanted to ask you all a few questions, me and my questions, that kind of just came to mind when I was thinking of the term insecurities. And, it was kind of like, who told you, right? A lot of us have insecurities about the way we look. Who told you you weren't pretty? Who told you you weren't handsome? Who told you you're too skinny or you're too big? Who told you you can't get that good job? Who told you you can never find love again? Who told you you may not be a good mother, may not be a good father? Who told you you can't be a good friend? Who told you? Where did those voices come from? Now, the answer could be from people. It could be things that you've told yourself. It could be things maybe that you've seen. Social media is a major part of our everyday. It could be that. But what is the root cause of our insecurities? What are the root cause? What's the root cause of the feelings that we feel and the things that we tell ourselves? And I'll give you an example, right? Because I want to be completely practical and honest and transparent. You know, I have insecurities. I have a lot of insecurities. But I'm at a place in my life where I'm going to start challenging those insecurities. I'm going to start challenging the voice that is in my head, right? I'm going to start challenging the voices. It could be from people, family, friends. I'm going to start challenging it. I'm going to start putting up a fight. You know, I'm going into 2021 challenging all my insecurities. Again, I'm not saying they're not there, but I'm not going to just sit with them and accept them, right? You know, even KepTalk, I had huge insecurities about KepTalk. I've had this vision for so long, you know, but different things started playing in my mind. Like, am I good enough? You know, do I look good enough because I'm going to be on camera? I remember there was a time that I told a few people that, you know what, maybe I'll just do a podcast because then people don't have to see me, you know. That's an insecurity. But this year, I told myself, you know, a few months ago that I am challenging that insecurity and I'm going to do it. I'm going to look at the insecurity in the face and do exactly what I thought I couldn't do. And that's why I'm here right now. Again, I'm still a work in progress. I remember having so many insecurities when I got married, right? When I got married, I had a lot of insecurities. So, you know, there'll be times that I would ask my husband, like, do you really love me? Right? And we all know if I'm asking someone if they really love me, that's an insecurity right there. And I remember there was another insecurity that kind of, you know, revolves around marriage, and it came from something someone said to me. So that kind of goes back to my point that insecurities could come from people. They can come from the things that people say. And someone said to me something that really just kind of like altered the way I did things and thought about things in the first few months of my marriage. And I had to, you know, get over it in different ways. I had to do different things to get over it. I had to be intentional about it, but it was an insecurity for me. So with that being said, I encourage you all to challenge your insecurities. Now, on to our guest of today. I'm so excited. I'm going to be so excited for all my guests. So forgive me if I'm repeating I'm so excited, but I'm excited for the next guest. She is coming with a story that I'm sure everyone, regardless of gender, age, you know, background, can relate with. And I just want you all to just listen with open ears and open hearts. And yeah, on to our guest.
Hi everyone, my name is Eni Fowora. I am 25 years old and I'm currently a graduate student at NJIT studying Master's in Business Administration. I'm really excited to be here and just share different aspects of my story relating to insecurities and how that it hindered different aspects of my life, starting from adolescence all the way to adulthood. And I hope that as you guys watch, you'll be really encouraged and can kind of relate with a lot of the things that I'm going to discuss today.
Welcome, Eni, to KepTalk. Happy to have you here. How are you today?
I'm great.
I'm really, really honored to have you here. I think that your story is a story that a lot of people can relate with, regardless of gender. You know, you're a woman. So I know a lot of women will be able to relate, but I also know the men out there too will be able to relate with you. So let's get into it. Let's get right into it. So what would you say is your biggest insecurity?
I think my biggest insecurity is this idea of perfectionism. So kind of just feeling like everything has to be exactly the way it is. Like there can be no mess ups or no missing pieces. Everything just has to be like to the T.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people might not look at that as an insecurity,
Right.
but I think it'd be interesting for us to hear how this even started for you. So can we kind of go back to your childhood, right? Because I believe it started when you were a child,
Right.
And kind of walk us through, Eni in grade school.
Okay. So my insecurity definitely started at a young age. When I was in elementary school, I always never forget this moment. I was in like 4th grade, and I don't remember what happened prior to that point, but I went into the bathroom and I looked at myself and I cried. Like, I cried my eyes out because I just didn't like what I saw. Like, there were so many flaws, so many things that like just didn't feel right about myself. And that kind of followed me for a while, which is like where that perfectionism aspect comes in. Like, it was like to the point where I could pick myself to pieces.
And in 4th grade?
Yeah, over and over again. Like, there were just certain things that I wanted, like whether it was my hair, my skin color, my stomach, whatever it was, I just didn't like what I saw. And it got worse and worse and worse after
As you got older?
as I got older.
Now, did something happen in 4th grade that triggered it, or was it something that you saw? Was it what kind of triggered that? Like, did you just wake up one morning and said, I don't like the way I look?
So I went to school with primarily like Caucasians. So when you go, like, for me, I always felt different from people. Like, always, whether it was the way I carried myself or the way I related with people, I always felt different. So like, going to like a Caucasian school and being a Black girl was very difficult for me. Like, I felt like why can't my hair be like this? Like, why does my skin color look like this? Or like, why is it so dark? Like, different things like that would irritate me, and at that age, kids are kind of mean. They're really, really mean. Yeah. So, sadly, I can't really remember parts of my childhood. It's like bits and pieces because I have a tendency to erase a lot of things. But I think it was just really going to school with Caucasians and not really fitting in or feeling good enough. So that really got to me a lot. And then I always had like a bigger stomach. I don't know if it was because obviously, like, I was a kid, so it's like you eat, you do different things. But that was one insecurity for me it would never go away, like my stomach and just it being like really big. Prior to that point, I had like I think a couple years before that, I had to get surgery because I had one of those umbilical cords that was like really profound, like the Audis. And I think after that, I started getting complications. So I think that's why like my stomach was always so big, because like I had issues with like digesting food and stuff. So looking at that in pictures, it really used to irritate me. And then from there, it just like spiraled on and on. If it wasn't my stomach, it was something else. And it would just kind of like add on to each other every time.
So would you say that your physical appearance is kind of like what set the motion for the insecurities maybe that you felt in college?
For sure.
Or high school.
Yeah, for sure. And internally, I was like always like really, really sad. I was outgoing, but I always felt like internally like I was always really, really kind of sad in a way, because I just never really liked the way I look, ever.
So I could definitely relate with what you just said, because I grew up in a white town, only Black girl in all my classes. I remember graduating, there was 4 of us, maybe 5 Black people in my high school graduating class, out of like 500 kids.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If that. Now in the school there was more, but like in my graduating class, probably about 5 of us. And I just know the insecurity that came with it. Yeah. Even, being a Nigerian, the name, having so many letters in the name, and just being made fun of simply because you were different. So I understand it. I get it. And yeah. I get it.
Yeah,
You're not alone. You really are not alone. So, okay, let's now move past 4th grade. Because, you know, that was your experience then. Middle school, how was that for you? How did your insecurities develop in middle school?
In middle school, I felt like it was one of those things again where I just didn't feel like I fully fit in with anyone. I felt like I was bullied. And I feel like middle school was the time where I started being extremely quiet. So like there was this one girl, for example, now if you're talking and you say something and the person's always like, what are you saying? Like nitpicking you, like things like that get to me. And she would consistently do this every single time. And then I felt like a lot of other people would start doing it. So like after that point, I started getting really, really quiet. Like I never wanted to talk, especially with like when I'm in big groups of people, I'll just keep silent because I don't want to feel like, oh, if I talk, I'm going to say something stupid or just say something that doesn't make sense. So it started like really messing with me, which is why I started instead of having more conversations with more people, started having more conversations up here, and it started messing me up little by little. And it wasn't until now that I'm starting to realize how it actually really messed me up.
So would you say that you literally had like a personality change because of how somebody made you feel? You know, like you became an introvert.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? But you weren't born an introvert, right? You were born outgoing.
Yeah.
You know, you like to socialize, but because of somebody constantly picking at your every word, it changed who you were as a person.
Right.
Is that an accurate?
Yes, for sure. And I think it's like funny when you start looking back at certain things that happen to you, it starts making sense as to why that kind of follows you into adulthood. I'm still kind of quiet, but I feel like now I'm speaking up more, but that part of my life definitely silenced me. And a lot of the ambition and drive that I had to kind of just want to talk or just say certain things, I just stopped it because I didn't want someone nitpicking at me. And even when people do it now, like I don't like it. That's also an insecurity because sometimes they might not actually be doing it. So now I can't really decipher if you're really trying to correct me or you're just trying to come at me. Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. Like starts messing with me and like mentally, you know. So
you bring up a good point.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's what. You know?
So it's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
So it was like hard for me to take correction because it's like now I've internalized it into an insecurity because it's like, are you really trying to correct me or are you really trying to like bully me in some type of way? Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned being lonely in middle school. What did that look like for you?
Loneliness for me was like there could be 100 people in the room and I just feel like I'm still the only one there. It was just very fake. Like it was like very, very, very fake. Like I don't think I had friends. I mean, I had like 1 or 2 friends that I could say like, all right, you know, we're cool, but I still felt like I was just very ostracized, if that's the correct word.
Being in middle school, you know, we're still in our parents' house.
Yeah.
You know, they see us every day.
Yeah.
Did you express that to your parents? Like what you were going through to your parents?
Like here and there, you know, like there were other issues at home too, so it was kind of like I didn't really feel like I really had like an actual audience to speak as much. Like I know they were there, they were present, but at some point you just kind of just don't really want to talk to anybody about anything anymore, you know? So, but they knew I was going through something. They tried the best they could, especially like my mom. Like she would try to like encourage me and things like that, but also they didn't really want me like with the African mentality. That's like a whole different type of parenting, you know, them not wanting you to go out at certain places or do things like that kind of stopped me from even being able to really relate with people as well, because I'm always home. You guys always want to be home, you know, even like simple things like going ice skating with people or things like that. This is stuff that we want to do so we can actually relate, but they didn't want us hanging around with certain people. It's only up till now, obviously I'm going to appreciate that now, but it's like at that point, I'm still a kid. I don't want to be in the house all the time. I don't want to hang out with you guys. I want to be around people my actual age.
And you were working through something too.
Yeah.
Internally trying to make friends and be accepted and not feel so insecure. So you were kind of battling two things, right? And when you did get invited to something, you can't even go. Because your parents said you can't go.
Right.
I get that. So let's move into high school. How was high school for Miss Eni?
Right. High school, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't something like, how some people would be like, oh, I wish I could go back to like prom or go back to high school and stuff. I don't have those moments. I really don't. I don't. And I don't think I ever will. Yeah. High school was okay. I think at that point, that's when I started acquiring more Black friends. But it was more on the scale of we had a lot of cultural differences. There was a lot of colorism that happened there too. A lot of colorism. Wow. And that really, really messed with me. And we already have that in our culture too. So it's like, for me to be dealing with that in school as well, that was another place of me feeling ostracized. Like, number one, I have a totally different cultural background for you. Number two, a lot of my friends were more on the lighter spectrum and I was like the darker one. So it was like when we would go out and stuff, I would always feel like I stuck out like a sore thumb. I didn't really feel like fully accepted. And now I don't, before I was like really, really irritated and it was just very frustrating. But now when I look back at it, it's just like, even the people that I was getting mad that, they didn't put me in a certain light, I can't be mad because it was all ignorance. We went to school with white people and they're always praising people who are like a little lighter and you know what I'm saying, like just smart remarks like that. But that was a very frustrating time in my life, I'm not gonna lie. I just always felt different, and once again, like my parents tried to shelter me the best way they could, but it was very annoying because I didn't get the experience to really relate with people, so I always felt very awkward, very weird. And at that point, I was definitely to myself. I was even more to myself. I was still very friendly. By the end of the day, when I go home, it's still just me and God, obviously. But it's really just me,
Wow. So was this the first exposure you had to colorism? Like, is this your first time experiencing it in high school? Or did you experience it before high school?
I experienced it before high school, actually as early as elementary school. So there was this one kid, he was white, and me and this other girl, we were the only two Black girls in the class. And, when that slavery conversation comes up, it's always a little awkward.
It's very awkward.
Yes, it's very awkward. He made a comment basically saying that you should take Eni and take the other girl. Like when they were talking about slavery. And at that point, again, I wasn't really as vocal, so it just stayed here and here. And then in middle school, I was just making a remark that I said, oh, I wanted to wear yellow. And this white kid was like, he tried to like stop himself from finishing his sentence thinking I didn't hear what he said. But he was like, oh, why are you wearing yellow? You're Black.
Black people don't wear yellow.
Yeah, exactly. And then in 8th grade, I wore this bright orange dress. I mean, now when I look back at it, I hated that dress. But, at that point, I was like, it's popping. I want to wear it. So in 8th grade, I wore this bright orange dress. And, like, I had my makeup. I think my mom did my makeup. If I'm not mistaken, I think she did my makeup. I went into the bathroom. And I asked one of my Black girlfriends. I was like, oh, how does my makeup look? She was like, you can't see it. Because I was dark skinned and she was, like, a little lighter. Then different things like that. And I remember this one girl posted on Facebook, she was like, yeah, someone called me an African princess and I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or an insult. Yeah. So constantly being compared to like my friends who were like much lighter than me, like constantly feel like I had to like compete with them in some form or fashion. And that I just felt very belittled, like very, very belittled. Like, it just started really messing with me. I think actually in high school was when I started another insecurity that really started messing with me was my height. I didn't really like being short at all. I didn't want to be like super, super tall, but like I just wanted God to give me like maybe like 2 more inches.
More inches.
And I would be okay. Cause in my head I was thinking like every like because I'm sure people feel like they can just talk to me anyhow or treat me some way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like that was a thing too. And even me being short, it was like when people would like bring that up, like even in, oh, Eni, why are you so short? Like I hate when people say that in public or different things, because like it really irritates me. Like, why are you saying that? You know? Family members too.
Yeah. And you know, the thing about that, a lot of people, you know, family, close friends, I want to believe, right, that they're not saying it to intentionally hurt.
Yeah.
But because they might not know the insecurities that we're dealing with, it causes pain. Yeah. Right. But they don't go in, you know, they don't wake up one morning and say, oh, I'm gonna hurt Eni's feelings. Yeah. I'm gonna make Eni feel like this big and talk about her height. But they don't know the impact of the statement, right? They don't know the impact of the action they might do, and how detrimental it could be to somebody's self-esteem, right? Because when you think about it, we're talking insecurities and using that word, you know, here and there, it really comes down to our self-esteem, our self-worth, how we see ourselves. So yeah, I also could relate. When it comes to just people saying things that could affect us, you know, way down the line. Yeah. All right. So we've talked about elementary school, middle school, high school. Now let's get into college. Because I know college. A lot always comes with college. What was Eni's identity before going into college? Who was Eni before going into college?
I was still trying to figure that out, because I feel like at every phase of my life, I feel like I lost it little by little. It was just like fading away because of insecurities and me being traumatized by different things that were said to me, and me just being silent about a lot of things. Going into school, number one, as soon as high school was over, I just wanted to run away forever and never come back to that town, which I kind of did, but I ended up going to Rutgers and staying in Jersey. So I think that was one thing that kind of dampened my spirit, because I wanted to like go far, far away to school. But every time I want to leave, God just finds a way to bring me back to Jersey. Every single time. So just going into it, it wasn't the greatest experience, especially my first year. I felt very lost. Once again, I didn't feel like I fit in. It was nice because I felt like I went back to my actual culture. Like, there was a lot of Africans. Yeah. Everyone knows there's a lot of Africans at Rutgers or in that college scene in general. But I still didn't feel like I fit in. So it was one of those things, again, I just felt constant different. Battle. Yeah, I just always felt different, and I didn't want to really talk. You know, I would go to stuff here and there, but that time was really, really hard for me. And I think at that point, I was like doing really poorly in school. I know my mom was especially really concerned about me. I was like losing a lot of weight, but that was partially because I was just drinking a lot of water and changing my diet. But just going into it, it wasn't really the greatest experience. I remember that exact month when I went back into school, my uncle passed away, which is really hard in our family. That was my mom's youngest brother. So that was one thing that really dampened my spirit, because it was like, you know, it's someone you're used to seeing all the time. Yeah. So mixed with me not really enjoying school and that happening, that kind of followed me for some time. And then it was just constant battle after battle. Like, I was having anxiety attacks. I'll never forget the one day I had like a huge anxiety attack. Like, I really couldn't breathe. And I don't even think my roommate was in the room at that time. Like, I just like was dry heaving, like crying myself to sleep because I just hated it. But I tried to keep going. Then second semester, the unexpected happened. Around that time, it was like a guy I was talking to. I was about to take the train, the New Brunswick train. Okay. I was walking, I was on my phone, I looked up, and I saw a man jump in front of a train and kill himself. That was a very numbing experience. And it wasn't like the regular train, it was an Amtrak train. So Amtraks are like fast, like really, really fast. I literally was on my phone, I looked up, And all I remember was a white man with glasses. He like jumped and his body was like done. And one of the body parts hit my hand. I didn't even stay there. I was just so like disoriented with what was going on. I was just really, really all over the place.
So let's stop right there, because that is a lot.
Yeah.